All right, welcome everyone. I am Dr. Day and I'm here with Coach Andrea. She is a menopause specialist, and I'm just going to say off the bat, she is so professional, and I was crazy with the technology. I didn't know what I was doing. So she's been super awesome and super patient. So I'm excited to get into a conversation with learning more about you. And what I love about this conversation is that we named it movement, metabolism, and menopause. So I think that that's great. And I'm going to ask you, when you heard that title, what did you're like, okay, this is what we're going to be sharing with women. This is what we're going to be teaching today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to make it basic and simple, and I feel like these are, broad names for the way that you can get into, changing women's bodies and helping them feel better. And those are the three big M's, if you will.
Yes, so that's for sure. And I know it's a big topic. We're probably not going to get through every. There's no way we could get through everything in the time that we're here. But one of the things that I love about what you do is there are things that we do that are similar and things that we do that are really different. And the things that we do that are similar is we work with women in their perimenopausal, menopausal time, because there are a lot of changes that happen to their bodies. And we also do labs because we want to not only know what their symptoms are, what they're expressing, but also we want to know inside what's going on so we can help them to get results.
Absolutely. Yes.
How did you figure out that the sweet spot is not just talking to them about their pain points, but also using labs to then help structure plans and programs and exercises that are going to get them to where they want to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, the more that I owned a personal training studio where we were offering nutrition and, the basics for women, and they just weren't really getting the results they wanted. And so I just was on a mission to figure out, what's this missing piece? And what I found is that the Dutch hormone test, or even there's some good blood spot tests, and you can do GI maps that can really dig deeper into specifics versus just, belly fat, weight gain, weight loss resistance, low energy, and then the gamut of, issues with menopause. But we can look closer at, like, well, is it, estrogen dominance, or, are they having low testosterone, or do they have adrenal fatigue where they're not even producing cortisol? So it's really hard to know what's going on with just biofeedback and symptoms. So what I found is that the labs it's kind of like puts this light, on the path, and it helps us fine tune so much faster than, I had people coming to the gym for years, and it's like, geez, what are you eating, Janet? 1,100 calories, like there's something off here. Why are, like, we have things like lymphedema. There's all kinds of issues that, are much deeper than just the symptoms. So that's why the labs for us. I just think it's so much easier, and it makes it less painful, if you will, and start getting results.
So I love that. I love that because I know that the women that you serve, right? So actually, now let me not put words in your mouth. Who do you serve? So why don't we start with that?
Yeah. So I'd like to say anyone, usually over the age of 35, are going to be experiencing symptoms with their hormones, and they've maybe over dieted, things like that. And that's when things start to disconnect. And so what worked in their 20s and 30s isn't really working anymore. And so we want to service 35, 40, 50, 60-year olds midlife that really want to, live their best life, age well, feel better. And maybe their doctor has said, you know what, belly fat's just part of this whole journey for you in perimenopause. Like, I'm going to say, nope, that doesn't have to be your story. So those are the women we work with.
And I love, I just love so many things about you. So I love the fact that that happens, that midlife, I think, is a time where so many different things are happening for women. And I think one of the biggest things that you just said is, they may have over dieted, or maybe they weren't paying attention to their health in a particular way. And then they're starting to see, oh, I need to pay some attention, because when we're in our teens and in our 20s, it seems like we can get away with like so much stuff and not pay attention.
Right.
And it starts to catch up with us in our 30s. Right. And so at least that's what I find with a lot of my patients too, is like, oh, we used to be able to do all this stuff and now we can't do it, or we're feeling like exhausted, we're feeling tired, we don't feel so good about it, but we want to feel good in our body. So there's an awareness, right, with the women that we both work with, where they're like, something is off. I'm not feeling as well as I would like, and I want some help. And that a lot of times within the world of, Dr. Google, Coach Google, right? A lot of times people think that if they just type in a symptom, it's going to give them an answer. And what I heard you say, and what I love about what you do, and what I love about what your mission is, and I think we're very synergistic in this, is that you have to treat the reason why they're having the problem. You have to treat the underlying cause of what's having the problem. If you're tired, it may not be because you have to go to the gym more. It
Right.
might be because you have adrenal fatigue.
Right.
Might be because you're estrogen dominant. It could be because there are other things that are going on in your body that you cannot see. And so
Absolutely.
typing in trying to get help, right? I joke about Dr. Google, but the truth is, women are feeling helpless, they're feeling frustrated, they don't know what's going on, and they're looking for answers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're looking for them in the ways that they know how to look for them.
Right. Right. Which makes sense. Like even now with ChatGPT, it's concerning because it's like, okay, what do I do for body composition? How do I lose weight? That kind of thing. It's always going to be about the move more, eat less, and then it's not going to work because inflammation is the reason that the scale is not moving for them. Or like I said, lymphedema. So they're holding on to fluid in their legs, things like that. Their lymph is not, doing very well. Their liver needs to be, looked at and kind of work with that. And so if they just ate less, moved more, what's going to happen is they're going to not see the scale go down very well. And it's actually going to produce more stress, creating exacerbated problems. And so I guess that's the sadness that I had owning the gym. It was like, oh gosh, I am eating 130 grams of protein a day. I do come to this gym 3 times a week. I'm not, nothing's happening. And to me, it's like, wow, that's crazy. But then if you look deeper, oh, I have an autoimmune issue. Oh, I have a stomach acid issue because autoimmune produces that. So then we can say, oh, you know what? You're not even really absorbing and using the protein. So it's just, I think the body is the most complex thing on the planet by far. And for women to think that, like we're going to take our car to a mechanic, if it breaks, we're not going to try to fix it. It's really, even more crucial to have somebody who has the knowledge and can look deeper and diagnose their body and help them with that. Versus all this crazy, it's not like, oh, fix your transmission. It's not like we see videos every day on how to fix your transmission and we're going to go try to fix our car. That just isn't out there. But for some reason, with women's health and weight loss, everybody's out there telling you they know how to do it. And it's like, how could you even if you don't know the root cause or, so it's just so interesting to me. But I think we're getting more educated every day.
Yes.
And women are like, you need to do better for me. And I'm ready to, figure out what that is.
And I love that because I think one of my business coaches said this to me, and I was, surprised, but it was a very good point. He's like, any person who is successful has had a coach. It doesn't matter whether it's an Olympian. It doesn't matter whether it's someone who's been successful in business. It doesn't matter whether it's an actor. People that are successful they have coaches, and those coaches or mentors are people that know more than they do. And because they know more, they're pointing them in the right direction. And what I love about what you said was it wasn't okay with you that women were coming into your practice, I mean, coming into your business, coming into your gym, and they weren't getting results. And that wasn't okay with you. You were like, I want to do better for them. I want to support them in a different way. And so you are a person who like did more research, found out more things, got them different tools and helped them to be more successful. And that is what I would consider. I would take a, a coach like that any day of the week, any time of the week, day or night, because of the commitment that you have to help them get better.
Yeah, no, I thank you. Yes, it is frustrating because I think over the journey with owning the gym too, we kind of dove into mindset because it was like, okay, these women are just need accountability and it's something in them that they're overeating or not eating. And so we also kind of explored that. And sure, there's a few women who have that going on, but honestly, like what I found is it's more they're under eating, they're not taking enough time for themselves, and they don't properly know what is the issue. And so they're sticking to things short term that don't really produce the results. So then they throw in the towel. So it's not even really a mindset issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's taken me 25 years to explore like what drives women. How do we get this weight loss? Why do they plateau out? Is it mindset? Is it, their body? What is it? And so that too makes me sad when, women are just beating themselves up and, gosh, I shouldn't have eaten that one Oreo. It's like, I'm sorry, but that Oreo is not going to make, if calories in, calories out is a thing, that's not the issue. It may be sugar with inflammation, but it's not the one Oreo or the Doritos or that pizza they had.
Yeah.
They end up like feeling bad and shameful the whole next day, going to their workout, hoping for a different result. And the whole thing just kind of, it's sad to me. So I'm a very results driven.
Yes.
I'm a why person. I want to know why. And I want other women to understand why too. And
Yeah.
I think that's the whole picture,
And I love what you said because I think this is really important. And again, in the functional medicine space that we both work in, it's not calories in, calories out was a theory that was used and continues to be used for people to kind of understand like what's going on with their weight or if their body isn't showing up the way that they want them to show up. But the body is really way more complex than that, right? And eating an avocado, for example, that's a really healthy form of fat, but it's still a form of fat. But our body needs certain fats and healthy fats in order for people to feel really well. So some of these theories have been debunked over time, right? So it's not just so simple as calories in, calories out, because you're right. If people are having inflammation or they're having an autoimmune problem or their liver is not optimally detoxifying at the rate that they wanted to because of a lot of the stuff that's in food, causes our body systems to act in a more sluggish way.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
liver, for example, but all these things, if you don't know those pieces, then the calorie in, calorie out, it doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work. And so
No.
you have to take a different approach to that. And so what I love about what you said is you're starting to help instead of just saying, hey, calories in, calories out doesn't work. Because I can't tell you, there was one woman that I worked with for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months, and she was not eating enough and she would not eat enough. Like she was fighting me, like literally fighting me and then getting mad at me because she wasn't losing weight. And I was like, just for this 1 week, can you just please just eat the way that I am asking you to eat just for 1 week? And she ate enough and she lost 2 pounds. And I was like, whoa, like it took, right? Because it's so ingrained, this idea of calories in, calories out. And so because it's been spoken about for so long and because women think about that for so long, it's like they're just, afraid to do anything differently, and they don't understand how the body works. So when we ask them to do this, it feels really like counterintuitive for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So when we start thinking about food is complex, just like our body's complex, and whether you're eating, you know, you're eating healthy fats, you're eating, healthy proteins, or you're eating healthy carbohydrates. And those are, one of the things that is frustrating for me is when women are like, oh, I'm on a no carb diet. I'm like, you're absolutely not on a no carb diet. If you're eating vegetables,
Yeah.
you're eating carbohydrates, right? But
Yeah.
what they're really saying is, I'm getting rid of processed foods. I'm getting rid of white bread, or or sugar, right? So the no carb diet is not really a no carb, because every vegetable is a carbohydrate,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, so you're getting glycogen. Like it's not like it's non-existent, or you're in ketosis even. So
Right.
it's definitely right, like you're saying, and they're probably having potatoes, sweet potatoes, if you're those are, obviously great carbohydrates. And carbohydrate is also hydration, right? So that means water weight. So there's so many things that, yeah, that I didn't understand either. And the more I've learned, I'm like, okay, if I'm eating carbohydrates, my water weight's going to be up, and I'm going to hold on to more, but that's a good thing. And I
Yes.
have more, energy in my muscle to keep and grow it. And so, like you said, though, they're not no carb, or, even maybe low carb, like more than likely it's over 100 grams or more. But yeah, it's very complicated, I think, to them, but to us, we're like, oh no.
And that's the reason, like when we talk about like why it's important to have like a coach or a mentor or a doc. I mean, I'm a doctor for sure, but I also think of myself as a coach or a mentor to my patient, because we can make it easier just to help you know how to implement it, and then how to get results. And then once you get results, we can keep teaching you. So now you can start to figure it out on your own. But I think a really good place to start is just to have women understand, hey, get the help that you need initially to know how you need to move your body, how you're going to change your metabolism through your movement, what you're eating, what the labs are telling us. And once you understand that and you get into the rhythm of it, some women don't even care. Like, you know what? Whatever you say, Dr. Day, whatever you say, Coach Andrea, it's working. I don't need to know the ins and outs. But if they want to geek out on the ins and outs, we can help them with that too. Like once they
Absolutely.
are feeling better. And so I know that we've kind of talked around it, but I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit more about your unique approach to how you work with women that are in midlife.
Yeah, well, we call it like a phased approach. So if you think about nature, nothing it like we've got, spring, summer, fall, winter, and it doesn't stay the same. So
Okay.
it's very important to understand that the body also does things in phases or cycles. And so kind of our first phase is the healing phase. And so during that time, women do lose inches, they start having more energy, their digestion gets better. But that's like we order labs. We have them kind of big picture, get into anti-inflammatory mode, and then maybe even take down their workouts for a time. If they're a big worker outer, we ask them to please pause. And that's some of the hardest things, because mentally they're like, no, I'm going to look better if I exercise. I can't give that out. But it's like, well, no, that could be a stress. So we take like the first 4 to 6 weeks to really figure out what's going on, get them feeling better and work with their metabolism, their hormones. And then we go to phase 2, which is our fat loss acceleration stage. So what I noticed is like there's a lot of good programs out there that help women with either or, but they don't kind of combine the body composition
Yeah.
along with also healing hormones and keeping the metabolism up. So as a bodybuilder and trainer and functional med certified nutrition coach, like I like to pair those two. So it's like, okay, we're going to heal, we're going to get better, and now you're ready to burn fat, because that's truly what women want. They don't want to get rid of their muscle.
Right.
Yeah, it's like that's your like savings account. That's your retirement. You don't want to, you want to live off the interest. So you want as much muscle as you can. So when they're losing body fat, we coach them on great, like let's look at body, your inches, things like that. So we dive deeper in there. And then basically we get them to the third phase, which is the lifestyle or mindset phase. So once they make it to, maintenance, that also needs to be learned, because if they were eating, lower calorie to get the fat burning to happen, and higher protein, we have to teach them how do you overall increase it to get to a good basal metabolic rate so that they can keep their results. And I think this is the most skipped over, poo-pooed, like, oh, I'm there, I feel good. And then they just want to, not even think about it. But it's like, no, we have to learn how to reverse things up. So then we do that with women, so then they can easily keep it. And that to me is, I think every program might have some element of it, but it's, more of a mindset of teaching, like, this is why this is so important. And we're going to ask you to eat more and not just stay where you're at, because you want a flexible metabolism.
Yes.
And that's the whole approach. So that's what we do.
I love it. I love this so much. And I was like, oh, wow. Because what I used to do with my patients, and I was learning too, right? I've been in practice not as long as you. I've been in practice for only like 22 years. But
a long time.
But when I first started working with people, I would fall into the same category of what you said, which is I focus on, my first phase is similar, detoxification. So you call it healing, which I love. I love that you call it, because it's not like looking at their digestive system, figuring out what's going on. I order the lab. So again, we have so many similarities, which I think is great. And I would help them with that. And then I would teach them. I kind of combined the second two phases, which was great, but I didn't really think about the maintenance phase really so much. So I'm like, because I'm teaching you everything, people were getting success. They were, their symptoms were improving, or their weight was declining, a combination of the two, and they felt really good. And I was like, great. And I was excited. They were excited. And then people would be like, okay, Dr. J, so we're coming to the end of our program. What are we going to do now? And I'm like, well, I've given you all the tools. So really my job is to work myself out of a job, because I was thinking about, well, I just want you to have everything. I don't want you to feel like I'm milking you for, forever. I want to give you all the things that you need, and you're going to be good. And then what I found is my patients started asking me for, okay, well, great. You got it. You said we achieved the goals, but we're not really ready to let you go yet. And I was like, oh, I was like, so I didn't really have, at least initially, like anything to kind of help them with their maintenance, because I didn't leave them until they were on a good path, like solid footing, achieve their goals, and they're doing okay. Right. But
Right.
I didn't account for, okay, they went to a wedding, they went on vacation for like a week and a half, and then they fell a little bit off kilter, and they didn't know how to get back on kilter, or life got super busy. And so they had to ask me. So I felt kind of bad after a while, being like, oh, it was never my intention to leave you out there without additional help and support. I really was like, I'm giving you everything, and you guys are good to go. And so I had to like think that, and then at least offer people the option if they needed more help afterwards, because some people do just need a little bit more coaching. They need a little bit more mindset. Sometimes they're afraid, like if people get results, and I'm going to ask you in a second to talk about some of the results that you've gotten with people. But if people lose 15 pounds, they're a different person. They're a
Yeah.
different body. They might have different clothes that they need to wear. And there's a different mindset that they need to get into. And so I work with them on that mindset, realizing that change that they've experienced, maybe they haven't looked like that since high school.
Yeah. Right. Right. And it's a whole like new brain. And then how do you keep it and make it like brushing your teeth? Like just you would feel weird, if you didn't kind of do it, but you can also, 80/20, right? Like you can have
Right.
pizza, you can have wine. Like, it's not like I'm completely gluten free for the rest of my life and I don't drink wine. Like no one wants that friend
Oh,
usually.
no one wants that. No
Yeah.
one.
And we want friends. So this is, also important. We don't want to socially isolate people. So yeah.
So it's a big thing. So I want to share a quick story that you made me think of, and I want to hear about some of the results that you have with the women that you work with. So just this week, I'm working with a young lady, and she had friends come in from out of town, and so she hops on the call and she's like, Dr. J, I had friends that came in from out of town, and we drank and we went out, and they had these, chips and stuff around the house. And she's like, but I can't believe, one, my weight didn't like balloon out of control, and I'm at the lowest weight that I've been at whatever time. And she was just so ecstatic. And the thing was, we've been working on lifestyle. So we've been working not just on, okay, here's all the calories and all of this, and not that. What do you need to do in your lifestyle? Get back, hang out with your friends for a couple of days. Well, while you were hanging out with your friends, you went for walks with them. You did the cherry blossoms, because in DC right now is a cherry blossom time.
Smells so
So
good.
so she was doing exercise and movement while she was hanging out with them and going to the Smithsonian and walking through the museum. And so she was integrating her lifestyle, which is why she didn't balloon up and why she was still able to continue to get results, even though her friends came in town and even though she was eating out at restaurants and having friends. And I was like, this is the whole point of what I do. I want you to feel better, and I want you to have a life. And so, why don't you share some of your results of what you get with people? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it makes me think of this client, Jeannie. So she's, in her 60s, still working, very career driven, busy professional. And I was just looking at her pictures yesterday and I was just blown away. But I can tell you, Jeannie has redid her whole life and it's taken 2 years. So we're still working together. So she's one of those that is like, we do, lifestyle stuff, we do metabolism, and we check in once a week and we talk and we become really good friends. But her whole body looks like completely different. But I think there was a 15-pound change. But her legs are slimmed down. She's gotten rid of lymphedema. So we've been through that. She eats so much more food. Like I think she was eating 1,200 calories when I met her and, upwards of 190 pounds. And she just wasn't moving the scale. And that just, there again, it didn't mentally compute. So we changed what she was eating. We removed gluten. We did a lot of things. We tested her hormones. We looked at her Dutch, and her adrenals were kind of on the end of like her cortisol was a little wonky. So it was a good stage to kind of come in and intervene.
Yeah.
And now 2 years later, her body eats, upwards of 1,800 calories every day. She has a certain amount of protein. She walks a certain amount. She does her water. And then we incorporate workouts. Like that's a little hit or miss. So we're still working on that.
Yeah.
But Jeannie is so different. She's so confident. Her body looks amazing. I mean, she just looks like a different person, but at 175, 180 pounds now. And she looks so different. So I love that with Jeannie because she learned like the Weight Watchers method. So we've did a whole re-education.
Yes.
And now it's like brushing her teeth. Like if she doesn't walk, but we still need to check in and then we still make changes. We still do phases. So we'll do a fat loss phase coming up. She's going to Maui. So we're going to do a 4-week, slow body comp, take calories down, but then we'll reverse her back up. And it's so beautiful. It's just, yeah. So Jeannie's just one of my favorites. I mean, I've got another client, Lois, who also was doing the no carb, really natural stuff. And she's lost like 60 pounds so far, I want to say in the last year.
Yes.
But she eats more protein than you would even ever. And so she teaches us, like, I'm like, how in the heck, Lois, do you get that much protein in? Like, girl. But she just continues to, lose weight, and she's losing inches off of her waist. I mean, talk about completely redoing her body. And then I have another mom, Lisa Mingo. I should say last names, but anyway, she lost so many inches off her waist, but she had PCOS and
Yeah.
she had no cortisol. So she
Ah,
was at that point in her early 40s, not old whatsoever, like not even, where her cortisol had just shut down. So, and it wasn't like overt stress. You wouldn't have guessed that that was what was going on.
yeah.
But then once we kind of got in there, it was like, oh, okay. And so now her waist and her abs, she's got 6-pack abs. She's ready to graduate. And, she's been with us about a year. She's really done the work. And then she wants to come back because she is like, I want to refine. I want to make sure I'm doing the right things. So I think it's about that connection with people too.
Yeah.
And just that understanding of like, there's kind of always something to work towards, and that's that whole reverse diet. But I too was an undereater. It was mentally hard for me to eat over 1,600-1,800 calories, and now I realize, like, oh, I can eat
Yeah.
2,100 and maintain my body just fine. And I need to make sure it's a certain amount of fats, protein, and whatnot, but I don't track anymore. I intuitively eat.
Yeah.
And then when I want to check in, I just look and say, what did I eat today? Oh, oops, I ate way more than I thought I did. Okay, good thing I tracked. And
Yeah.
so then for the week, I'm prepped again. So we don't want people to, worry about what they're eating. It should be the opposite.
I love, you know what? So I love it so much for several reasons. One, I love the fact that you were able to brag on your patient, your people, and I love bragging on my people. And I realized being able to talk to you about that, I'm like, I love bragging on my people. Like, and I love bragging on them because they're doing the work, and you are very clear about that. They're doing the work, and we're guiding them in the process and answering the questions and making it easier for them. So this isn't another job, right?
Right.
In addition to their jobs and their families and their friends, and if they're doing other extracurricular activities, like, this is a way of just helping them streamline. But it is such a gift to see people achieve their goals with their selves, their health, their bodies, because they're living better, fuller lives as a result of it. And so you just gave 3 different examples of women that each received help and support from you in different ways that allowed them to be successful. And
Yeah.
so I love that. And I think that I really want to brag on my patients way more often, because they do. I mean, I brag on them like in the session, but I want to brag on them more often because they do. It takes courage. I really believe if you are feeling frustrated with what's going on with your body and you're not feeling well and you've tried stuff and it hasn't worked, it takes courage to try again,
Yes.
because you've done some stuff and then it failed. And then you got to go past the failure and say, I still want this. I still need help with this. I'm going to try again. And sometimes, like you said, they're a little fearful, or they get to their success. And sometimes they have fear because they haven't, it's been so long since they've been successful. They're not sure how they're going to maintain it.
Right. And I think that's the number one discussion. Well, there's two, it's okay. Like, they'll say it's money. And then I'm like, but is it money? What if, the money wasn't, oh, I'd do it. But then it's like, but I'm really busy. I have this coming up. And so really, like, we talk about, it's the fear of failure and all of the things they've tried. And then they're afraid to put that, next kind of, because they don't want to feel that again. But also, like, do you want to give up? Like, that's not the answer.
Yeah.
And this is such a different approach. And so when I talk about, like, you don't have to be on diets and you can love your body and you don't have to worry about everything that goes in your mouth, like, I wholeheartedly have lived it.
Yeah.
And I can say it and just go, yeah, that's something I don't worry about. And I don't want you to either. I don't feel shame around food. It's wonderful, but I used to. So, I mean, it's like, gosh, that's what every woman really wants. They want to intuitively eat. They want to be healthy. They want to have energy. They want to feel confident in their clothes, and they can have it. So I think getting past the what if I failed? Everything's on the other side of what if I fail, right? I mean,
yes,
sure.
everything is. And I love it because I think when we're talking about midlife, when that's when women are going into perimenopause and menopause, right? So the midlife time happens and it's more than just failure. Sometimes it's not like, well, I'm afraid I'm going to fail, but it's I'm afraid that I'm going to fail and be a burden to my family, or if I change up what I eat, my family's not going to like that because they're not going to eat what I eat, or they're not going to exercise the way that I exercise. Or, in midlife, there's so many different things. Like, are we supporting our family, like our parents? Like, are we helping them? Are we helping our kids? If we have kids, are we helping them? Midlife is usually when women start raising up in the ranks of their job. So they want to make sure that they can do a good job at their job or their career or the things that they're feeling passionate about. So I definitely think in this time frame, you have like your body changing, but then you have all these other balls that women are holding up in the air. And so the idea of failing can feel like I just can't do it. I just can't fail right now. I can't fail at my job. I can't fail with my family. I can't fail with my food. I don't feel good in myself. And so I love to be able to have these conversations to say, hey, we're all figuring it out. And the other thing I love about what you said was we're all changing. Like, I am yoga girl forever. Like, I was like, yoga, yuck. That's how I was. Like, when I first started, I tried it a couple of times. I just didn't like it. But when I was in naturopathic school, my stress level was super high. My best friend from high school and I went on a vacation and we did yoga on the beach. And I was like, hey, this is good. Like, I like this. And then I found the right system and approach that worked for me, because there are lots of different yoga practices that focus on different things. And I've been doing that for 20 some odd years, right? So I love yoga. I love the breathing. The same friend was like, I was like, oh, I'm not a yogi. She's like, what are you talking about? You totally live the yoga life. And I was like, oh, does that make me a yogi? Like, I thought I had to be like a teacher or something. She's like, okay, get it straight, Damon. Now that I'm in my 50s, yoga's great, but I went to a physical therapist just because I wanted to see what I needed to do. And she put me on some low resistance weights, and I was doing that. And like, my yoga practice is better than it was before, because now I'm stronger, because we identified some areas that even though I was doing yoga, I wasn't doing it as much as I used to in yoga studio, for one thing. And there's certain areas I needed to work on. My core needed a little bit of work. My arm strength needed a little bit more work, because I had gotten a little bit of lack since the pandemic and whatever. I hadn't gotten back to the yoga studio 3 or 4 times a week, and my business and all of that. So I had to do something different. So part of what I needed to do different was I needed to start doing strength training, and doing the strength training makes my yoga practice stronger. And now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to try to do some advanced things that I hadn't done before, because my body's stronger to be able to do it. So there's always a kind of revisiting, like you said, like it will be for us, for women forever, when we get in our 60s and 70s and 80s and, however long, we're going to have to check on our bones. We're going to have to check on our heart. We're going to have to check on our muscles. And we're going to have to do some shifts to keep our body strong, to keep our mental acuity strong. Because exercise certainly can be a stress management tool as well as fun and keeping our body strong. So there always has to be that readjustment. And so I want women to hear you, and I want them to hear me and say that, hey, whatever you're doing now, great. If you're going to do something, get your body in better shape, great. And there's going to be readjustments. So just think about that as part of it. Don't think of it as a hard part. Just think of it as part of the process,
It's
right?
like rebirth or evolving, and I think that that's one of the biggest things too I've learned. And I was going to say, Dr. Day, I just thought it was so cool how you talked about, you needed to kind of dig back in and say, we need to have more of a maintenance and work a little longer on this phase, because I think the best coaches and businesses are built in the moment. I mean, honestly, like listening to their customers, seeing a need, and then you say, okay, it's time to refine. But it's the same with our bodies.
Yeah.
It's just we're constantly evolving. Things are shifting. When I was 20 years old, like I could do everything. Like I worked out many hours a day. Let's just say, but fast forward to now, like I have learned how to work smarter, not
Yes.
harder, because like you said, now I have 5 kids that are, needing things more often from me, sometimes even in adulthood, like they're older. And then I also have, businesses, like 2 really thriving businesses that I have to address. So I need to shift and prioritize. And so I don't have, 3 hours a day, like get up in the morning and run 3 miles and then later do my weights and work out with my clients. Like, and my body can't take it. I needed to evolve and say, you know what, I need to figure out how to work out smarter. So I'm going to do a 16-minute HIIT workout, 30 seconds all out. My human growth hormone is going to go up, and boom, I got leaner. So same thing. Like I also too am starting to get into yoga and bar. I just love it. My spine gets in a neutral position
Yes.
of a herniated disc from L4, L5. And so that was holding me back. Like really heavy weights and squats just wasn't
Mhm.
working for me anymore. So now I tuck my tailbone under, I get a little more going and my booty feels it, and my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in 45 minutes, I'm good. I'm sweating. I'm happy and I'm getting stronger. So it's just, yeah, we have to refine and dig in. I don't think you could pay me to run at this stage. Like, I don't think I'm going to do it. So
That's awesome. So this kind of leads, like we're kind of talking about some of the things that we notice that we need to change. And because we both work with women in midlife, my question for you is, what are some of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that women have about like weight loss or their body composition, or maybe even being healthy as they go through their perimenopausal menopausal process?
yeah, I think some of the biggest issues or mistakes, like I want to say, oh, they're working out too much, but it really isn't that. It's not like I'm talking, there's very rare that I talk to a woman that's like, I'm working out 6 days a week, that, no, but I know that's going on and happening. But really what I think it is they're overstressed. They're just overstressed and they don't understand that eating less becomes another stress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they think of stress as like, outward, things like
Yes.
deadlines or my heart's racing. Those are, yes, obviously stress, but not having enough food. And then even I hate to say this, and I'm not against intermittent fasting. Like I get it, but I do worry that then they start under eating again and their bodies become really stressed. So
Yes.
I'm more like, okay, let's rebalance blood sugars by building a really good plate.
Yes.
Maybe if you do an eat, stop, eat method, like eat right away in the morning,
Yes.
wait 4 hours, eat again, like eat bigger meals and then cut it off by 7 p.m. Don't eat again till 7. Like that's a great lifestyle that most people can adhere to. I love herbal teas, like there's things you can have. I think the other one is alcohol. I hate to say it,
I
but
know. I know.
just doesn't serve us. It disrupts sleep. There's really a lot. So if you're going to have alcohol, probably keep it to a couple nights a week
Yeah.
or whatnot, and make sure that you meet your protein for the day. So those are, I think, the misconceptions is that, eating less is a reward,
Yeah.
because you know how you talk to those women, they're like, I was sick last week, but the scale went down 3 pounds and they're really happy. And you're like, I totally get that. But no, like that's water weight more than likely.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's not going to stay. So, like we've got to find
Different ways.
homeostasis. Yeah.
What I'm in total agreement with you. A couple things that I just wanted to share as we close out. I definitely think that uh, when I talk to women about stress, what I try to do is give them an understanding that stress is literally the everything that your mind and body are going through in the course of the day. So it's not, I think a lot of times women talk about stress and they think about it as emotional stress.
Yes.
But what it really is when your body is under constant activity, mind and body, your body releases hormones. And this is why the Dutch test, because I love the Dutch test too. And I also do GI testing, all the things that you talked about. But the cortisol panel is one of my favorite things to do because it's showing you how your lifestyle is impacting your reserves of what you have and what your daily picture is. And so often I look at it and then I tell them, this is what I think is happening. And then they just look at me like, oh my God, you just described exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
And that's the power of doing those types of tests with women when they're tired or fatigued or feeling stressed or weight gain. Like I love those tests. And that they're great tests to do during menopause because estrogen, progesterone levels are all over the place. But the Dutch test and looking at those cortisol panels can give us a lot of information about what else is going on besides just the estrogen and progesterone levels, and they're more accurate during this time frame. So I love the fact that you talked to about that. And then the other thing is, intermittent fasting was done in testing environments. So if you stop eating at 7 and you start eating again at 7, that's a 12-hour fast that they actually talked about, like 12 hours of intermittent fasting. So I think people have taken the science behind it and they've changed it into not what the science actually showed us, right? And they're restricting their calories and not eating as much and thinking that that's intermittent fasting, but that was not how the research was done. So, I think that that's the what you're saying. I have the same thing where people say they're intermittent fasting, but they don't really understand how the research was done, and that we all, if we're not eating while we're sleeping, we're all doing some level of intermittent fasting because we're all sleeping at some period of time. So I think that's kind of it's become a loose term, which that's not always the best thing for them. So then you framed out, these are the activities that people kind of don't understand. And when you give them an understanding and they can follow through with that understanding, they're going to get really good results. And so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, some paths I'd like to take is, maybe giving GI monitors to people, like, so that they could learn about their body's rhythm, because it's so telling about right before, like if you're in perimenopause and you still have a cycle, right before your cycle, you'll notice blood sugars are really high. And then you'll understand like why insulin resistance kind of happens. Yes. And has nothing to do with you personally. It's just the way the hormones are talking to your body.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just, there's a lot to be understood, and then you know how to work with it. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to overstress myself. Maybe this is the time where I don't have a lot of, sweet potatoes, or, like I keep the carbs lower, but then later I can have more. And understanding 12 hours is a long time to not have food. And that's perfect. Like, but it doesn't have to be this 4-hour window. I've met women who are like, well, I eat no carbs. I eat between 2 and 6 every day, and like they've lost a good amount of weight that way. But I'm like, what kind of damage is their body under, and like the thyroid, and what's going to happen down the road?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you take a holistic approach and you talk to them about how can I help you now and how can I help you in the future. I think that's awesome. If people want to reach out to you, what is the way to do that?
Yeah. So the best way to reach out is just through our website, which is, what is it? toneforlifemenopause.com. So that tone number 4 lifemenopause.com.
That little back you can see in the back of her picture. That's what it is, Tone for Life.
Awesome. Yes. So super easy. I can get in a call with me. Send me an email if you have questions, like whatever it is. So we're very well equipped to help. I have so many free resources, and yeah, consistently talking about this. I have a free Facebook group. So many ways for us to get in touch. But start there, and you'll see how to get in touch with me.
Coach Andrea, I'm so excited to talk to you today. So thank you so much, because I love the fact that you are very clear in explaining how life is a lifestyle. It's not one thing. It's not in or out. It's do the work, feel better, feel good about yourself, and in midlife know that changes are coming and you can get help and support. So I love your mission. I love your message. I love the fact that we can talk about, yeah, as we get older, we're changing in different ways and we're still able to enjoy our lives. And we're smarter, wiser
True.
in the way we're doing it.
I have a
And
little brain fog, but I'm seeing through it.
And I love the fact you have fun and dance. I saw the post that you were dancing.
Yes.
My social media person, I like to dance. I like music. So in between my patients, sometimes I'll just like dance around to like a song. And I posted that, and she's like, "You need to do more of those things." And I was like, "Everybody doesn't have to know all the things." And then I saw you dancing, and I was like, "Well, Coach Andrea dances too, so there you go." Like,
It is the best way to move, I tell you. I remember when my boys were younger, we just start dance party, and we did like a little breakout a couple days ago, and my 17 and 15 are my two youngest, and they dance with us a little bit, so they would probably kill me for sharing this, but anyway, it's all good. It's really fun. So I think everyone needs to have fun.
live life. And so I love having you on. I love being able to talk to you. I love being able to share stories and be vulnerable with you. I love that. So thank you so much for being here.
Girl, I love you. Every time we talk, I'm like, we need to have our own podcast. Like,
I know we should do something, like we should talk about it.
we will.
All right. Have a